I don't know if it grabbed national headlines, but during a practice round earlier this week, Rory McIlroy was teeing off on, I believe, the 18th hole and hit a hook into the water on 18.
Mm-hmm.
Rory is a Masters win away from completing the career Grand Slam.
Mm-hmm.
He's won a U.S. Open. He's won the PGA Championship a couple of times. He's won the Open Championship. He just needs the Masters to complete the career Grand Slam. And oddly enough, in 2011, when Rory didn't have any majors, he was on the verge of winning the 2011 Masters going into the final round when he had a 4-shot lead. That quickly evaporated, and the lasting image of Rory McIlroy on that afternoon on Sunday was him standing next to a cabin on the property of Augusta National that no one had ever seen before because no player in the Masters had ever hit a golf ball where that cabin was. It was so far left, Kerry, that it was actually right. No, but it was way off. It's a dogleg left. He hit a hook that hooked. And there's a shot of Rory as his lead has evaporated. He's next to this cabin with no shot, and at that point you knew it was over. Rebounded greatly, won the U.S. Open a couple of months later, and then his major career took off. But Rory hasn't won a major in a decade.
Wow.
And came close last year at the U.S. Open. I know it's been a while.
Huh.
Came close at the U.S. Open last year but failed. But at the practice round this week, he hit a duck hook into the water on 18, the hole that Justin Thomas is playing right now. And a spectator, who we'll get to in a second, more information about him, said, just like the 2011 Masters. Okay, you laugh. You laugh.
That's funny.
Rory did not laugh. Rory turned around, walked to the spectator. The spectator had his phone. It was a 21-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm.
And Rory said, can I see that? Can I see your phone? And he took the phone and walked away.
Oh.
Ultimately, the fan got his phone back, but the fan was escorted from the property. As it turns out, the fan is a 21-year-old collegiate golfer at the University of Texas that just won a tournament in the area recently. A pretty darn good player.
Mm-hmm.
So this is surprising to me because of that dynamic, because I think that a college kid would know the pressures of golf, and while he wouldn't know the Masters, would understand that, hey, this is a peer that I'm looking up to, or hopefully a peer if my collegiate career can expand to a professional career at some point.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very weird way of trash talking. And that's what I want to ask you, Kerry Rhodes, because this is innocent enough. But is that crossing the line? If you're someone who also plays competitive golf, did this fan cross the line? Didn't swear. All he did was bring up a bad memory, and Rory McIlroy took offense to it. Does Rory have thin skin? Does he have rabbit ears? You hear this scenario.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
It's layered. So, number one, Rory, if you're listening, let it go, man. Heal. Take care of yourself. That's come and gone. You should have evolved by now to a different person, and that moment should be long gone right now, right? That would be the first thing I say to Rory, right?
Okay.
Just
It's 14 years ago.
let
Yes.
it go. The second thing is an interesting point that you brought up with the guy being a collegiate player that I'm sure that you said is a really good player that has aspirations to do that. What would you do in that situation? Would you want somebody to do what you just did and heckle them about a shot that, like, again,
Sure.
It's been 10 years ago or whatever, how long it's been. Why would you even bring that up? And why would you have that confrontation with somebody that you may have to face later on down the line, who, by the way, is and has been one of the best players in the game of golf, at a period of time, right? So I don't know what the angle was. I would think the angle is for him to get the attention, because now we live in a society where you can go viral or you can have those moments. And so for me, I would see it for that reason. So next thing you know, now we're talking about this guy. We know some of his background. We know that he's a player. We know that he has probably aspirations. So I think that more than anything would be the reason he did that, to get attention.
Is that an excuse? Is that an excuse to say, I just got caught up in it? I got caught up in the social media world. Is that enough of an excuse to say, hey, I messed up?
It's not an excuse. I think it's for him. There would have been obviously that moment happened organically, but in the back of his mind, he knew, obviously, because he was at that spot, he was following Rory, and he was seeing Rory at that point, that if he had the chance, he was going to take that opportunity to interact in any way, and that was the interaction.
This is why I think this is so unique, because I don't think Luke Potter is the 21-year-old's name. Luke Potter plays golf at the University of Texas.
Yep.
I didn't say his name, but why protect him? He said what he said. He's released a statement apologizing. They even had his coach release a statement, and we don't know if there's going to be any discipline or not. But it's just odd. Golf is different than everything else. I said to you prior to the show, I remember the time when the guy, and I think it was in Philadelphia, gave Russell Westbrook the double bird to his face.
Yeah.
And Russell Westbrook is like, who is this guy?
Right.
Like, can we get this guy out of there and not going over there and charging him at any point?
Of course.
The kid didn't say anything that was vulgar, didn't say anything that was, I guess, unkindly, unseemingly, nothing, no cuss words, anything, just brought up a bad memory. Now, I'll tell you what, every time Scott Norwood, after he kicked for the Buffalo Bills, went into another stadium, what'd you probably hear? Wide right.
Right, yeah.
But isn't that what this is? And like, as a golf fan and someone who likes golf, to me, it's really, really out of pocket. But when I step and I look at all the arena that you played in for 8 years of your professional career, I would think that you would have heard much worse from fans than this situation. But is it different? Is this different because of the silence? Is it different because it's an individual sport? Like, I'm trying to weigh this and even figure this out because I feel it's more heavier. But then again, I see the guy giving Russell Westbrook the double bird, and Westbrook's just like, get this guy out of here. That's probably the way to handle it.
Well, probably the etiquette of it, right? Like, you're a golf fanatic. You're somebody that actually plays the game and follows it really closely. And so the etiquette, you know better than me. I obviously know it. I mean, I know it's quiet on the green. Like, I know you give that respect to the golfers and let them do what they do. It's such a thinking game. And, and all games are. But it's very, like, it's inches. It's like inches upon inches of where any kind of distraction for a golfer, it seems like they're a little bit more fragile when it comes to the mindset of, like, no, this is my sanctuary. It's very quiet. We know the rules. We know what when you go to a golf match, this is what is expected, right? Where in football or basketball, you're coming to be rowdy. So you have a couple of beverages and you lose yourself in the moment of being rowdy. It's kind of part of it. Now, throwing the birds, he's lucky Russell Westbrook didn't slap him.
Sure,
right? Like,
right, absolutely.
But with this, it's just somebody saying something. Like, somebody saying something to me, that's not going to affect me to the point of taking their phone and escorting them out.
Yeah, I mentioned Scott Norwood. Maybe a more recent example would be Cody Parkey when he had the double doink for the Bears.
Yeah.
By the way, the double doink is also just awful luck that it would hit the crossbar or hit the upright and then hit the crossbar.
Yeah,
and be knocked out. It could have knocked in.
Right.
Could have been that scenario. That's the part that where I would think that Cody Parkey probably heard about this time and time again whenever he took the field again in whatever uniform, if you're trying to get under his skin. And it's kind of, I feel like something like that is almost fair game.
Yeah, Dan, I dropped an interception 2000. I can remember. I know the exact date and time. Like, it was a big game against Miami. They were number 2 in the country. We were number 9, 10. We're in the Orange Bowl. We're winning. I had an excellent game. I picked off a pass earlier, almost another one. But to win the game, to close out the game, I had a chance to intercept the ball and win the game. I got there so fast that I dropped the ball. I heard everything. I still get messages from people from Louisville, like, just sporadically. It could be a Miami game. They'd be like, yeah, remember Kerry Rhodes dropped that interception? I'm like, hold up, man, relax, all right? That was 30 years ago, and you still – but I don't take it personally. Like, move on.
Yeah. Yeah, you hit the shot. Rory won majors after that point. That's the point is, and I would say that I've always enjoyed Rory McIlroy. it's weird being a fan of people who are younger than me, but I would say that I'm a fan of his. I've always liked watching him play. It just feels like it's thin skin.
It is.
You're a former player.
Yeah.
Bo Benson is a fan. Monty Bolaños is a fan. I want to ask you, Iowa Sam is a fan. Bo, when you hear Rory McIlroy being heckled like that and then going to the extreme of taking a phone and having a fan ejected, who was a 21-year-old player at the University of Texas, is it thin skin or does golf make it different?
I think because it's golf, like you don't expect a golfer to kind of have that reaction, but also like it's much more intimate. In the video, like the guy's right next to where Rory is, doing his thing.
Yeah.
It's different, but it's also like, I don't want to say part of it is on the athlete, but like Kerry just said, like you kind of expect it, I think, at some point. Like I thought the lamest thing ever in sports was Russell Westbrook getting mad at people taunting him with Westbrick. I thought that was so goofy. And then his explanation afterwards of like, it's my name and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, you just don't like it. That's fine. But you're going to get that. You have to accept that being an athlete in the public sphere, and especially going into like visiting arenas. I guess in Westbrook's case, it was at his home arena, which he didn't like. But yeah, I think this is just different because it's golf and you don't expect it in golf.
Yeah, it's completely, it's odd to hear. Like you would have players trash talk each other if they're in a money game or stuff like that. But it's also an individual sport. Now, I'm not saying individual athletes don't get heckled. Sergio Garcia would get heckled a lot, but this isn't like there was a groundswell of people that were hanging out watching this. This was a practice round. Rory is popular, but there weren't tons of people around at that time. I just it just is. It's weird to me, and I think it's uncalled for, and I don't know why I feel that way. Because, as I said, Russell Westbrook, and I'm not even talking about Westbrick. Other things
crazy.
that have been said to athletes have been far worse, probably by fans, in a football scenario or a basketball scenario or a baseball scenario. Monty, is Rory McIlroy, does he have thin skin? Should we expect something different if somebody says, hey, you hit a bad shot 14 years ago, remember that?
So I think the golf, it being golf is a big factor in it. I'm trying to look up the video because I didn't see how close he was. But if this dude is within my arm's distance, I'm grabbing the phone. Get out of my face.
Rory walked up to him. So he was probably about 15 yards away from the tee box, maybe 10 yards away. Enough for Rory to turn around, hit the tee shot, walk the 10 yards, ask the kid for his phone. He's 21 years old. They call him a kid. And then Rory grabbed the phone and walked away.
I'm looking at it. Yeah, I mean, it's actually funny how calm he did it. He was just like, "Can I see your phone?" Great, thank you, and walked away.
Okay, make a little, give the golfers a little bit more space.
Didn't say anything about his family. Didn't say anything about, that was out of bounds. Well, except the shot that was out of bounds. But
yeah, that was out of bounds.
But yeah, because it's golf. I feel like naturally it's more intimate of a sport.
Yeah.
Just naturally.
And as Kerry pointed out, etiquette is a part of the sport.
It is, yeah. I have no problem with what Rory McIlroy did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. Westbrook at home is kind of nuts, though. I'd be upset. I'd be upset.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's kind of tough.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay, good. I feel better for feeling bad feel bad that Rory had this, but again, it's not the worst thing that you could yell at him.
No. Yeah, it could have been so much worse, obviously. Go ahead.
Yeah, Iowa Sam?
Didn't Rory sort of have an issue with the last U.S. Open where he was in position to win it?
Yes.
And he did he like take off in his car or something?
Yeah, he did not meet the media.
That's right.
Yeah, and he, and I think this is just the definition of like striking a nerve, hitting a nerve. If you're that young man saying that to him, and it hit a nerve with Rory. I would say this: you don't have to turn your phone over to anybody. Rory McIlroy, the president, the FBI, unless you have a lawyer. Like you should not.
Tom Brady just say you're not going to get my phone.
No, that your phone is like your passport.
Give it to him.
No, he didn't.
But he just willingly did it.
He could have just walked away.
What did Rory do with his phone?
Do
we know?
Guy ended up getting his phone back,
Yeah.
so I assume he gave it to security and.
That's weird.
But
That's a weird reaction.
I think he understood that he's like, I just drew the ire of Rory. I'm just gonna like instinctually.
I don't think
hand
Rory
over my
had a
phone.
plan.
No, I think he's
Rory
just like
wanted to throw it in the water and then realized that he shouldn't.
It would be a lawsuit. Yeah.
That the walk allowed him to think a little bit more clearly.
I think I think I would say this. What was that young man's name again? The Texas
Luke Potter.
Luke Potter. Maybe we struggle sometimes, especially men, with impulsivity. Maybe he impulsively just blurted that out, and then Rory impulsively just walked over there and was like, "Just give me your phone." And like neither side thought things out.
The kid, right, was a golfer.
Yes,
he plays at the University
So
of Texas.
I feel like that's why, because he's come out and he's apologized, right, like straight up. I think because he's a golfer, he realized that maybe he just kind of, didn't respect the game that he plays.
And now he's telling all his friends that Rory had his phone.
Yeah,
there's
video.
There's video of it. Yeah,
the new TGL.
Yes.
This is Sam bringing this up. Rory missed a putt in the new simulator league, and one of the team like Twitter sites tweeted just like the U.S. Open.
there you go.
Like that would tick me off.
Now that would get me if I can't hit in the
so
simulator. No, that'd be a problem.
And the U.S. Open is much more like the putt that he missed on 18, the 72nd hole on Sunday was a difficult putt, but the one that he missed on 16 was definitely there's no excuse for missing that putt. That would hurt me more than something that happened 14 years ago.
Yeah, it's been sensitive. It's you have to heal. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, heal yourselves, please. Old wounds should not make you impulsively take phones from people. It's crazy.
He should have just Fran McCaffrey'd him.
Well, I was
Right?
gonna say,
Right? Just give him a couple of
the ref,
choice words.
The ref that eventually, I think Fran was working on that ref and trying to draw attention to the foul disparity, and the ref had enough, and he teed him up, and maybe Rory had enough, and it was finally the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, and if Rory says bleep you to the guy, that's all we hear. Because we don't have audio of him saying, just like the 2011 Masters.
Yeah.
And when that comes out, it's still Rory dropped an F-bomb on someone, and that wouldn't be good.
What looks better, Dan, like him actually dropping the F-bomb or snatching his phone like a little kid. Like
But
if you're trying to prove a point, well,
Remember Conor McGregor
demand it. I demanded it.
I think if he says something that I think that actually looks worse than him calmly walking up, grabbing the phone, and walked away. It may seem petty, but I think Rory got his whereabouts, his wherewithal as he walked and realized, okay, I really didn't have a plan here. Now I don't know
I have
what
this
to
guy's
do.
phone,
So let's
I don't
just
know.
give it to somebody. Like I probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But if he would have said a bleep you,
Yeah.
we would have had that audio. We would be playing it here on drops.
If Rory had like carried out his plan and like grabbed his phone and thrown it in the water,
Yes.
and threw an F-bomb at the guy, and we found out that it was because he said just like 2011, huh? We would all been like, oh wow, Rory, that's really a horrible reaction just for an innocuous comment like that. It's not like, as I mentioned to you earlier, like when Jason Kelsey grabbed somebody's phone when he was walking through Penn State and broke it because of what he said about his brother.
Yeah.
That's a more reasonable reaction. I applaud Jason Kelsey when he did that. I would not have been happy if Rory destroyed his phone.
I also think Kelsey's response was warranted in the fact of, listen, you or anybody else, you just can't say whatever you want to say.
Right.
And since it was like in public, like Rory's inside the ropes playing a practice round at this point, so there are some rules there. But I think that's maybe the rule that Rory wanted to say is, listen, you can come to this event, you can do whatever, but you don't have the right to try to become viral and say whatever you feel like you want to say.
Yeah.
And I think that was the point that he was trying to make. He just didn't necessarily think it all through because it happened so fast, and then realized at the end that he probably wasn't going to throw a phone into the water.
Oh
Tell you
my
what,
God.
it'd be funny if this was all promo for Happy Gilmore too, though, wouldn't it?
I was going to say,
Everybody seems to be in it, I think.
everybody has every golfer or human being has their unhappy Gilmore inside them that like can just like
Yes.
he struggles with anger in the movie and finally gets hold of it, and it's where he kind of masters his skills. But yeah, I just think that he touched a nerve, honestly.
I just think that Kerry's profession, football, baseball, basketball, all get it 100 times worse.
Oh, yeah.
But the setting that golf is in and the individual sport that is allowed this to rise to that occasion.
Oh man, you guys, I think we're all getting sensitive here because that is super
Well,
super sensitive to me, Dan.
Don't drop an interception against Miami then, Kerry. If you he is Kerry Rhodes.
I'm over it.
Dan Beyer. I dropped an interception my junior year in high school, and we were 0-9, and it still bothers me to this day. We didn't win a game all year.
could that have made the difference, Dan? Could that have made the difference
It could have made the
in
difference
one win?
of us losing by 9 instead of the 16 that we lost.
Now this sounds like an episode of Little Giants. All right.